You ever hear those stories about the one that got away? Basically, it's fishermen who never tied their knots the right way, and it just broke that knot right off those hooks, and those fish swam away unscathed. Hi, my name is Michael Hathaway. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to tie proper knots on hooks and the line that is needed to do so. But first of all, I would like to start off with an explanation of what a hook is. A hook is basically comprised of a snell, which is what catches the fish, and a eyelet, which is where you tie the knot. The lines that we're going to be using today are composed of monofilament, which is a single filament of plastic line, which is a lot lighter and harder to see in the water. So you can catch a lot of fish easily that way, but they can break you off if they're big enough. The next line we're going to be talking about is braided line. Braided line is made up a bunch of microfilaments braided together and creates a very strong rope-like line that lets you catch bigger fish and have harder fights. With that being said, let's jump into the first knot. The first knot is called a clinch knot, and that is tied with braided line and a hook. You start by putting the braided line through the eyelet of the hook. Once it's through the eyelet of the hook, you pull some slack through, and then you want to wrap that slack around the main line about 5 to 7 times, depending on the strength of the knot that you want. The more times it's wrapped around itself, the stronger the knot's actually going to be, and the more attached to the line it's going to be in the end. It's a lot harder to do when you're not attaching the hook to an actual pole, so you got to bear with me a little bit. Once the line's actually wrapped around itself that many times, you want to take your access line, which is this, and you want to put it through the loop that is created up by the eyelet, right up here. So once you put it through there, that in turn creates a bigger loop, and you want to put that excess line right through that bigger loop. Like so. And once it's through that bigger loop, you can actually take the excess line and you can pull it down, and you can watch it as it clinches down upon that eyelet to give you a very strong, very dependable clinch knot. Like that. Now this excess line that is left over, you can either take a knife or pliers. I normally use a knife, and you can just trim it right off. If you can. Sometimes it's harder. Once that's trimmed off, you have a very dependable, very strong clinch knot, and you're ready to go fishing. The next knot, however, is going to be a polymer knot. A polymer knot is normally tied with monofilament line because monofilament line is easier to work with. With a polymer knot, you want to start with a very, very tiny loop in the line, and you want to take that tiny loop and you want to put it right through the eyelet of the hook. Doesn't matter which way, front or back, as long as it goes through the eyelet of the hook. Once you have that tiny loop through there, you want to actually tie a regular knot like you're going to tie your shoes. You just take a regular knot, put it through there, and pull it through the other side. Now this leftover loop right here, you want to take and you want to wrap right around the outside of the hook. You want to pull the hook right through the middle of it, and that creates basically the polymer knot. The polymer knot is a very, very strong knot because it uses the strength of the line in order to keep it attached to the hook. Same thing with the excess line that comes off the edge here. You can either take a knife or you can take pliers or anything and just trim it right off. Like I said, takes a couple tries. Unless you're really good, which you might be. And then that gives you the polymer knot, and that knot's ready to go fishing now. So, in conclusion, I would like to just say that hopefully these knots can give you a little bit of knowledge when you go out and go fishing, and it'll let you catch bigger fish without the risk of losing them due to a weak knot. As for the history of these knots, there isn't any history. I think that the knots were actually just developed in regular rope tying, and then they were brought into fishing to create a very strong knot and allow the fish to not break you off. My name's Michael Hathaway, and that's me on tying a proper fishing knot and learning the line to do so.